The alien mother's hands trembled under the pale light of the orbital bazaar. Her daughter's small voice echoed. Soft, hopeful. Mama, will I get a Starlight Doll this year? But the mother's eyes glistened. The price tag floated like a cruel hologram. 6 months owned and salary for a toy that shimmered with living light. Around her, other species laughed and bartered. None noticed her tears. Until a human did. And that single act of kindness would soon ripple across the galaxy, rewriting what humanity meant to countless worlds. Hey, traveler. Before we dive deeper into this emotional journey, take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this story if it moved something in you. It helps this small corner of humanity's voice reach more stars. All right, ready? Let S step into a story where a simple human gesture would echo louder than any starship engine. The marketplace of Asterion 9 was a maze of neon and noise, stalls floating in microgravity, holograms flickering like restless ghosts, and merchants shouting in a dozen alien tongues. It smelled of oil, ozone, and sweet spice. For the rich, it was paradise. For the poor, it was a mirror that only showed what they could never touch. At the edge of this chaos stood a mother of the Jiren species, tall, silver-skinned, with faint bioluminescent freckles that pulsed dimly when she was sad. Her name was Lareth, and tonight, her glow was fading. She held the small hand of her daughter, Mira, whose eyes shimmered with childlike wonder as they passed a glowing display. Behind the glass hovered the Starlight Doll, a rare toy that could float, sing, and project constellations from a child's dreams. To human eyes, it might have looked like a blend of art and miracle. Mira pressed her small face against the glass. Mama, she whispered. It looks like me. Lareth's throat tightened. The doll's hair flickered with silver light just like her daughter's. It was a gift she couldn't afford, not even close. A nearby holographic tag blinked. 12,000 credits, limited edition. That was half a standard year's wages in her factory sector. She tried to smile. Maybe next rotation, my star. But the words cracked under the weight of truth. Mira nodded, pretending not to notice. Children always understood more than adults believed. She squeezed her mother's hand, a gesture older than any species. And then something stirred nearby. A human, maybe in his late 30s, stood by a parts kiosk, watching quietly. His name tag read, Engineer J. Kim. His jumpsuit bore oil stains and a faded Earth flag patch. To most aliens, humans were still a curiosity, the new species that climbed into space barely a century ago. But there was something in his eyes, that unmistakable look humans got when they saw pain, and couldn't ignore it. He approached gently, careful not to startle. Hey, excuse me, he said, voice soft, carrying that awkward warmth humans were known for. Lareth blinked, slightly defensive. Yes? He gestured toward the display. That's a Starlight Doll, right? My niece wanted one too. Prices are insane. The alien mother exhaled slowly, unsure if it was mockery or empathy. It is beautiful, but beauty isn't for people like us. J. Kim chuckled, but it wasn't at the laugh of mockery. It was the sound of someone who lived that truth. Yeah, my mom used to say that when I was a kid. Back on Earth, we didn't have much either. But she always found a way to make something out of nothing. He looked at Mira and smiled. Hey there, what's your name? The little girl peeked shyly from behind her mother's arm. Mira. Well, Mira, he said, crouching slightly. Do you know what's better than a Starlight Doll? She tilted her head, eyes wide. What? He tapped the small device on his wrist, an engineer's multi-tool, and whispered something. A moment later, the air shimmered, and tiny points of light bloomed around them, glowing stars, softly rotating like a tiny galaxy trapped in a bubble. Mira gasped. It's real starlight. Not quite, Kim smiled, but close enough for a dream. Lareth watched, stunned. In a market built on greed and status, this stranger had created magic, not with money, but with kindness. Minutes passed. Mira laughed, reaching up to touch the glowing lights. Lareth's eyes filled again, not with sorrow this time, but with something rare in that place. Gratitude. Kim turned to leave but paused. You know, he said quietly, humans have a thing called birthdays. We give gifts to show someone they matter. Doesn't have to be expensive, just has to mean something. He placed the small projection module in Lareth's hand. This one's on me. For her. Her bioluminescent freckles brightened in shock. I cannot accept, he grinned. Too late. Already gifted. And with that, he walked away, vanishing into the crowd before she could find words. Later that night, in their tiny room on the outskirts of the orbital station, Mira played with the lights. The miniature galaxy spun slowly, stars winking in the dimness. Look, Mama, she whispered. The human gave us our own sky. Lareth sat beside her, silent tears gliding down her silver skin. She didn't understand why a stranger would give such a thing freely, but she felt something stir deep inside her heart, something dangerous in a galaxy where kindness was considered weakness, hope. And in the far corridors of that same station, whispers began to spread, about a human who gave light to a Ziran child, about how maybe humans were not just another species, but something different, something that still believed in giving. Weeks passed. The orbital bazaar spun through another cycle, and the story of the human who gave light traveled faster than any ship. At first it was just gossip, a curiosity. Then came the retellings, each version bigger than the last. On Asterion 9, traders whispered it in backrooms. Factory workers repeated it during long shifts. In schools, alien children looked up from their tablets and wondered, would a human do that for me too? Hay didn't realize it yet, but a seed had been planted. Lareth's daughter, Mira, carried the tiny light projector everywhere. She showed it to her teachers, her friends, even the old scrap dealer who'd never smiled before. Each time the same question echoed, why would a human give something so precious for nothing? No one had an answer, but that question spread, and questions, in any civilization, are how revolutions begin. Meanwhile, Engineer J. Kim went on with his life. He didn't think much of what he'd done. To him it was a simple act, the kind his mother would have done back home in Busan, back before Earth joined the Galactic Concord. He repaired fusion cores, shared lunches with alien co-workers, laughed, worked, and dreamed. He didn't know that across Asterion 9, holofeeds were already labeling him the human who gifted the stars. To the media it was heartwarming content. To the Ziran syndicates it was trouble. The syndicates ruled the labor sectors. They didn't like hope. Hope made workers dream of fairness. And fairness was bad for profit. So when whispers of human kindness started turning into action, workers helping each other without credits, neighbors sharing food, strangers repairing broken machines for free, the syndicates panicked. They launched a propaganda holo. Humans are dangerous. Their gifts are tools of manipulation. Beware their false generosity. But propaganda only works when people have nothing to compare it to. And on the same day the holo aired, Mira's tiny projector broke. Lareth panicked. The light had been her daughter's joy, her symbol of that miraculous night. She tried to fix it, but the module was too complex. And without credits, she couldn't afford repairs. Then, unexpectedly, her doorbell rang. When she opened it, she froze. It was Kim, the same human holding a toolbox and a smile. I heard about the projector, he said softly. Mind if I take a look? She stepped aside without a word. Within minutes, Kim was sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by glowing parts. You know, he said, on Earth we used to say, you don't throw away what's broken, you fix it. Lareth watched him work, his hands steady, his expression calm. When the device flickered back to life, Mira squealed with joy and hugged him tightly, glowing brighter than ever. Kim blinked, surprised, then smiled. Guess that's my payment. That simple repair did more than restore a child's toy. It reignited something across the station. People began fixing each other's problems instead of ignoring them. Humans shared food with alien families. Aliens helped humans with translation, transport, childcare. The human way, as they started calling it, became a quiet revolution. Within a month, the syndicates couldn't stop it. Within a year, the Concord Journal published an article titled, "The Gift That Changed Worlds: How One Human Sparked the Kindness Movement." It wasn't just sentimental fluff. Economists noted a measurable rise in cooperative networks, trust rates, and mental health across multi-species communities. Civil unrest dropped. Productivity rose. All from one human giving one gift. Later, during a Concord summit, an alien representative asked Kim to speak publicly. Standing on a wide platform under artificial starlight, he looked uncomfortable, scratching the back of his neck. "I'm not a hero," he said. "I just saw a mom and her kid. You don't need to be rich or powerful to care, you just need to stop walking past people." His words weren't elegant, but they hit harder than any speech the galaxy had heard in years. Back home, Mira kept her starlight projector, but now its light was no longer just a child's toy. It was a reminder. Every year, on her birthday, her mother would activate it, and the holographic stars would fill their small room. One night, as the stars twinkled above, Mira asked, "Mama, do you think humans will always be kind?" Larith smiled softly. "If even one remembers why they give, then yes, my star, they will." Outside, in the vast silence of space, human ships drifted among alien fleets, no longer strangers, but symbols of something brighter. Not power, not dominance, out the rarest force in the galaxy. Compassion. And across 1,000 worlds, when a child asked for something beautiful, parents no longer said, "Maybe someday." They said, "Let's make it together," because once upon a time, a human had shown them how.